Hello, friends. This is Peace Queen here, Melannie Denise Cunningham, and I'm coming to you just days after the convening of the People's Gathering, a Revolution of Consciousness conference, and we were doubling down on justice. Well, ooh, something happened. It took a life of its own. If you were there, then you know what I'm talking about. That the collective dialogue got messy. And you also hear us talk about the hard and messy work of anti-racism. The People's Gathering is real time, real life stuff. And it got messy. And so I want to go to the source of the messiness, at least the affected people, and really get at the bottom of unraveling and unpacking what happened. And so to start with, the lead facilitator in the Indigenous Native American room was Renee L. So Renee, hey sis.
Hey girl, I'm glad to be here. Always a pleasure to take part in this event. I'm so glad you brought me in 2.5 years ago.
Yes.
So wonderful to learn with you, from you, and with all of these amazing change makers who come to the People's Gathering and share their thoughts, open their rib cage so we can watch their hearts beat in real time and hear their genuine concerns and questions and all of that. We were able to push the conversation, and we had several topics, and we went through each one. We talked about identity, we talked about culture, and we hit several different topics, and the conversation went really well as far as I knew. But not seeing all of the chat because we were busy.
You had no
Yeah.
idea what was going on the
No.
side, girl. So
Yeah.
this is how the okay. So what happened? It got out because Sancha sent me a text apparently when as you were facilitating and asking for people to identify themselves, it was determined that there were white people in the room.
Yeah.
And so Sancha asked me, what should I do? And you know that the rules of this space is that space is sacred for what box do you check on the census form. So if there were white people in the room, they needed to be called out of the room. And so that was the instruction that I had given Sancha. And so what I found out later is that call out happened in the chat.
Yeah.
The call out happened in the chat. It didn't interrupt your presentation. So you're going on as business as usual.
Yep. Happy as a clam.
Happy as a clam. You're going on doing your thing. And then the chat had its thing going on, right?
Yep.
But the person that because folks left, but this person stayed.
Yeah.
And so, but what turned out to be, this person was not focused on the chat because of their impaired ability to read the closed caption and the chat. It was like, I'm trying to see what was going on. So it was never called out.
Yeah.
And so, and as a result, then it was brought to me, and then, okay, and so then this is where I'm just gonna own it. I'm gonna say it triggered all kind of this, that, and another in me, and I just let it become what it was. Just kind of let the sheet take the cover off of it, rip the Band-Aid, and let's see what we're dealing with. From since I've had, I had limited information.
Yes.
And now to back up and say, okay, what happened? But you know what? It still doesn't erase depth of the emotion that people have around this topic, sis.
Wow. This is absolutely fascinating from a sociological and anthropological perspectives. And I will never exclude anybody who genuinely wants information. And that's the impression I got from that person. And so that's why I didn't say, hey, you're in the wrong room. Because some people don't identify don't clearly identify because maybe they have a native ancestor and they don't really claim it, right? So I try to be really cognizant of not every native looks native. And so, I'm in my perspective, I'm not here to judge. If you want to learn, great. And as I was taught by my grandfather, if we don't tell them what they've done, they'll forget. And so that's a tenet by which I live my life is if people are here to learn, I'm going to teach them. They're going to get schooled. It's going to be diplomatic because that's how I roll, but it's going to be.
And so when we're talking about a revolution of consciousness and really getting into the roots of how race lives in us and impacts us, this piece is really, I mean, what happened in this piece is really a snapshot of what happens in life, right? And it just took a life of its own. And when I got your email the other day and you were like, we had a good time in our room.
We had a great time. I'm like, what version of my room did you see?
Yes, what is going on? What is going on? So, just so you know, we've reached out to Brittany is her name, and we've reached out to Brittany because I really want to chat with Brittany. I just feel like, there was a lot going on, and people was coming for her. I mean, it was they were coming for her, coming hard, and at the same time coming for the system, and at the same time coming for it was a revolution.
Wow. So from my perspective, here we have somebody who genuinely wants to be here at the conference, right? Wants to learn, wants to engage, has a hearing impairment.
Yes. So
from just that alone, she's not going to be able to get the full experience, right?
Yes.
It's not going to happen. As vital as that is, it's still not going to happen to the extent it would for a hearing person.
Yes. But the thing that I want to continue to lift up,
and so I totally.
The thing that I want to continue to lift up and hold is that she didn't go into the room willingly, right? She didn't willingly go into the room. She was placed in the room. She was given the wrong link.
Oh my God.
So that on top of everything, just makes this bigger, right? That the way that the energy was coming at her, it just took a life of its own. But this is who we are. This is who we are. What that became is it's who we are. And it is the prime of example. It gives us so much material on how to be better.
Absolutely.
It gives us so much material on how to be better. And so I want, again, I'm just saying, I want to talk to Brittany. I don't know if Brittany wants to talk to me, but I've definitely reached out to Brittany because it's necessary that she's heard.
Absolutely it is. I thought that her interjections during our room were spot on. She was interesting. She asked a couple of good questions, and I think she was trying to engage and learn. So I didn't see anything. And again, because we were facilitating and not monitoring the chat 100%, we missed that. And there was a few, like Sancha was throwing up links right and left, and somebody was like, hey, this is great information you're giving. And she and I both worked at Northwest Indian College together, so we had that little discussion sidebar. And I thought she was a terrific addition to the room. but again, I did not see that part of the chat where she basically, called people out, and
Mhm.
that's okay. That's
I
okay if
think,
you said,
and the way that she did it was very gentle, right? It was like, okay, here is the information, just in case maybe you didn't realize that these are the rules of engagement for this conference, right? That
yeah,
you select the it's different, and people don't understand, and maybe this is evidence of a lot more pre-work. Although we thought we've been super
mhm,
clear on what the race
yeah,
dialogues are. I mean, we're like,
yeah,
the census. Um, but being placed in that room, I think, is what
that's the problem.
yeah, that was the problem, and that has been acknowledged by our the support team that works with me
Sure.
on this, that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
a mistake. But again, fascinating how that mistake, just like in life, just how life flows, can take a life of its own. And then
yes,
people's deepest passions about this subject, as we talk about the iceberg and what's underneath, right?
yeah.
Just took them
That's
off
what
to a whole nother way.
Yeah, that's what's amazing about this is I was trying to follow the thread, and then Robbie said, "Well, you weren't in the such and such room, so you're not going to have context." I'm like, "You're darn tootin' I don't have context. What the heck happened in the room? I thought went terrific." And everybody was like, "Hey, this was great. Thank you. We really enjoyed this." And so
Yeah.
we had very positive feedback before we closed. And so I thought everything was fine.
And
As
that's
as
how
my
we'll
as,
end it, right? I thought everything was fine.
yeah, and as
That,
my
like,
dad used to
how
say, thinking was your first mistake.
I thought everything was fine. And that is just a beautiful metaphor about life, right? And how
Yes,
people are going through, this is
yeah,
just kind of a reverse discussion here. I
yeah.
thought everything was fine.
Apologize for not being able to join the after party,
It's
so to
all good.
speak.
It
Yeah, but
just like
I
what
just,
you told me when I, took all of this on initially. You said that everything happens in its divine order, that it
yeah,
happened the way it was supposed to happen. And
yes,
I think that, and I'm going to continue to push for this opportunity, that we can use this case, this situation, to
yeah,
learn on so many levels, right? And
yes, absolutely.
I'm grateful for that opportunity.